The film starts in 2019 with a scene of a young lady named Seo-yeon walking on a country road with her bags. A man called Sung-ho offers her a lift. During their ride, he learns that her mother is very ill and asks if she has visited her in the hospital. Seo-yeon has lost her phone and tries to use Sung-ho's, but she can't. Sung-ho helps her by dropping off her bags at her house. There, she discovers an old button phone. She tries to call her own phone, but the person who answers demands a reward. Later, the phone rings. Seo-yeon answers and hears a woman's voice who mistakes her for someone else and says her mother is crazy. When the woman realizes she has dialed the wrong number, she hangs up. Later, Seo-yeon learns from her mother's doctor that her mom has a brain tumor. The operation is risky and needs a specialist. Her mom asks her to prepare for her funeral. Seo-yeon visits her dad's grave, who died in 1999. Back home, she receives another mysterious call. That night, a fallen photo leads her to discover a hidden room. Inside, she finds a toy teddy bear on a chair, box with various items, including a girl's diary and a photo. Seung-go identifies the girl in the photo as Young-suk. Seo-yeon's house was previously owned by her stepmother, a shaman-like figure. After sharing minimal information, he feigns memory loss. Seo-yeon notices the photo is from 1999. She spots a store named after Sun-hee, the woman from the mysterious calls. One night, a call ends with the woman screaming as her stepmother drags her away. A struggle ensues, setting the hidden room on fire. Seo-yeon sees smoke and fire through the wall opening. Seo-yeon moves to a hole she made in the wall and sees smoke and fire on the stairs. Later, the phone rings again. Seo-yeon tells the woman on the other end, Young-suk, that she found her picture from November 26, 1999. Young-suk says it's only the 18th, so Seo-yeon reads from her diary of the day before. She checks what she wrote, and when it matches, Young-suk becomes frightened. Seo-yeon, knowing it might sound strange, shares her theory that they're living in the same house but in different times. To prove her theory, she finds a newspaper from November 18th and tells Young-suk to watch the news for a plane crash report. That night, Young-suk had dinner with her mom. Her mom warns her to eat, or she'll be sent back to the institution, so she starts eating quickly. After upsetting her mom, she sees the news report about the plane crash and calls Seo-yeon. The two women bond as Seo-yeon tells Young-suk about future events like her favorite musician's comeback and new technology that seems crazy in 1999. When Young-suk reveals that her real mom has passed away and the woman who is hurting her is her stepmom, Seo-yeon shares how her father died. There was a fire in their home when she was a child because her mom forgot to turn off the gas and her dad died in that fire. On November 21st, 1999, Seo-yeon and her family visited Young-suk's house, considering buying it. At this time, her father is still alive. Young Seo-yeon goes upstairs and they find Young-suk's room, asking her stepmom to unlock the door. When Young-suk opens the door and recognizes the visitors, she calls the older Seo-yeon again and lets her hear her father speaking. It's a deeply touching moment for Seo-yeon, who hasn't heard his voice in 20 years. Young-suk thinks of a plan to save her father from the fire herself. On November 27th, the day Seo-yeon's father was supposed to die, Young-suk manages to sneak out of the house without her stepmom noticing and goes to the house where Seo-yeon lived before they moved. The younger Seo-yeon is watching TV and her mom is doing her nails, while lunch is cooking on the stove. Later, the mom leaves the house and Young-suk steals the key, while Seo-yeon is playing with her dad. Young-suk enters the house just as the fire is starting. Back in the present, Seo-yeon gets her cell phone back and the burn mark on her leg vanishes. Suddenly, her whole house, including herself and her room, starts to change. Seo-yeon walks downstairs and out of the house, where she sees a beautiful glasshouse garden. As she steps into it, she first sees her mom, and then her dad appears. Seeing him in front of her, Seo-yeon starts to cry and hugs him, which confuses both of her parents. Later, she calls Young-suk to express her gratitude. Seo-yeon spends time with both of her parents and shares new music with Young-suk over the phone. The two of them continue to communicate over time and become closer, until one day, Seo-yeon can't talk on the phone because she's spending time with her parents. Young-suk keeps phoning her and becomes angry when she doesn't return her calls. When they finally talk again, it's clear that Young-suk isn't doing well. Seo-yeon hears screams over the phone and then hears Young-suk's stepmom warning her to stay away or she'll be hurt. In the past, Young-suk's stepmom is trying to perform an exorcism on her, believing it can help her, while Young-suk pleads for her to stop. The stepmom whips her and chants over her tear-streaked face as Young-suk apologizes, hoping it will make her stop. Afterwards, Young-suk's stepmom visits Sun-hee's store and notices that Young-suk has been there too. She notices the injury on the woman's leg. In the present, Seo-yeon can't resist looking for Young-suk online. When she can't find her on any social media, she searches for her address and reads a news report about Young-suk's premature death during an exorcism performed by her stepmother. Young-suk calls her and Seo Yeon tells her that she believes she will die that night. Her stepmom takes a knife from the aquarium and goes to her room. She grimaces as she raises the knife and starts stabbing the bed, thinking Young-suk is sleeping there. However, she isn't in the bed, as the stepmom finds out that it was a teddy bear lying on the bed. Young-suk laughs at her, then grabs the fire extinguisher to disable her. She finds the knife in the smoky room and confronts her stepmom, then kills her, developing a liking for blood. Afterwards, she phones Seo Yeon, who is anxiously waiting by the phone and feels relieved when Young-suk assures her that she's okay. She even says she feels like a new person. In the next scene, Young-suk is finally outside the house, looking happy because she's free. First, she enjoys a meal that she really likes. Then she goes shopping for new clothes. In the present, Seo Yeon greets Seung-ho as he arrives at their family home to deliver strawberries. In the past, he makes a different delivery to the house, but this time, Young-suk is the one who opens the door. She's excited about her new clothes and shows them to Seung-ho, then asks him to come in. Seung-ho inquires about her mum, but she's more interested in which of her new items he prefers and leaves him in the living room as she goes to find other things she's bought. Seung-ho is in the kitchen preparing strawberries when he finds smelly black bags in the fridge filled with body parts. Young-suk finds him, gets angry about the opened bag, and leaves to get a fire extinguisher. In the present, Seo Young's family is enjoying tea and strawberries with Seung-ho and his dog. Seo-young answers a phone call, hearing Seung-ho's sobs and Young-suk's anger about her ruined clothes. The call ends abruptly. Seo-young feels uneasy and notices Seung-ho is gone when she returns downstairs. In reality, he was never there, and her parents don't even know him. Just to be sure, she checks the fridge, then goes to his strawberry farm, only to find it abandoned. Seo-young goes to the local police station and asks the officers if they know him. The younger officer has never heard of him or his strawberry farm, but the older one has. He asks Seo-young why she's asking about someone who's been dead for 20 years, which shocks her. The officer takes her to the back and shows her his notes on the case, stating that Young-suk murdered him at her home. The police also visited Young-suk in the past to ask about Seung-ho before they knew she was his killer. She tries to deny knowing him, but one of the officers, the older one that Seo-young spoke to in the future, notices inconsistencies in her answers. Young-suk claims she doesn't know him and that her mom isn't there to confirm if she's seen him, but the officer notices the strawberry delivery in the house. She tells a lie again to hide her actions, but the policeman can tell she's not telling the truth and writes down some notes, which makes her anxious. Young-suk mentions something about a murder in the village, but the police officer, despite his suspicions, eventually leaves her house. The older Seo-young finally goes to speak with Soon-hee, the shopkeeper, to ask her about what really happened to Young-suk and her stepmother. Soon-hee tells her that she believed Young-suk was a good girl who would sit and listen to her talk about her husband for hours. Sometimes she would secretly bring snacks into her room, until one day she caused her serious harm. If it hadn't been for Young-suk's stepmother, Soon-hee would have died. Young-suk calls Seo-yeon while defrosting a body part. Seo-yeon asks if she killed Seung-ho. Young-suk lies, so Seo-yeon reads a news headline about Young-suk's arrest as a serial killer. Young-suk drops the act, admitting she killed the farmer. She asks Seo-yeon how the police found out, and says she needs to know to avoid capture. She gets angry when Seo-yeon hangs up. Seo-yeon is terrified, while Young-suk is angry and keeps calling. The cop investigates Young-suk, noting her mental issues. As Young-suk tries to contact Seo-yeon, she sees her younger self and her father at the door. He tells Young-suk they're looking for her stepmom, who was supposed to meet them. Young-suk says she's probably asleep and invites them in. In the future, Seo-yeon is with her dad, who notices she's worried. He lets her drive to cheer her up and advises her to be gentle with the pedal. Seo-yeon does so successfully. In the past, Young-suk prepares to harm him as he waits with Seo-yeon. The girl sees Young-suk approach and spray her dad with a fire extinguisher. In the present, Seo-yeon sees her dad slowly disappear as she drives into a tunnel. The future she knew shatters like broken car glass. A scared young Seo-yeon recoils from the sight of her father's blood. Older Seo-yeon wakes up in the tunnel alone. Young-suk tells young Seo-yeon that her dad's death is her fault for not answering the phone. Present Seo-yeon returns to her house, finding it in a terrible state with the words "Seo-yeon, answer the phone" written in blood. When the phone rings, she picks it up without hesitation. Young-suk taunts her about killing her dad, making Seo-yeon furious and threatening to kill her. But Seo-yeon can't reach Young-suk, who has young Seo-yeon tied to a chair. Young-suk warns her that she has 1 hour to find out how the police will catch her or or she'll harm her mother too. Seo-yeon devises a plan to trap Young-suk at a location where a gas explosion is due to occur, hoping to end her life. However, Young-suk escapes before the explosion. Angry, Young-suk retaliates by burning her younger self, causing scars to appear on the older Seo-yeon. She further torments Seo-yeon by playing a voice message from her mom and blaming her for her father's death, leading to the fatal accident. In the present, Seo-yeon breaks into a police station to find the information she needs. She learns from a police officer's notebook how they caught Young-suk. Young-suk finds a man who discovers a knife with her fingerprints and kills him. The information disappears from the notebook, but new details appear about her mom looking for Seo-yeon. Seo-yeon sees a detailed account of past events in the notebook. The officer decides to help her mom when he learns their intended address. Suddenly, all information about Young-suk vanishes, and the house changes. Seo-yeon flees the house, but continues reading that her mom and the cop visited Young-suk looking for her and her dad. Young-suk lies that they left earlier, but Seo-yeon's mom finds her hair bow. They search the second floor, but find nothing. Seo-yeon returns to the house in the future and discovers Young-suk's history as a serial killer. She finds a phone in a room. In the past, Seo-yeon's mom tries to call her husband using Young-suk's phone, but ends up calling future Seo-yeon, warning her to leave the house. Young-suk hits Seo-yeon, and the call ends. Young-suk kills a police officer. Older Young-suk and Seo-yeon struggle over the phone until Seo-yeon knocks Young-suk out. A chase ensues in both timelines. The phone rings with Seo-yeon's mom calling the police, but future Seo-yeon tells her to find a weapon. She finds a fire extinguisher and waits for Young-suk. Young-suk from the past lures her mom out of the room using her child. As her older self nears Seo-yeon's room, she attacks her mom with a knife. Before Young-suk can stab her, her mom grabs the knife and fights back. Future Seo-yeon sees the blood on the walls as Young-suk enters the room. However, Seo-yeon's mom tackles Young-suk before she can harm the child, causing both to fall over the railing. Older Young-suk disappears from the future, leaving Seo-yeon alone in the house. Later, future Seo-yeon goes to the graveyard, but her mom appears, asking why she's crying. Seo-yeon is relieved to see her mom alive and realizes she's the best mom ever. At the end, older Young-suk warns her younger self about Yoon-ae and a cop, changing her own past. This erases Yoon-ae from Seo-yeon's present. The scene shifts to a torture room where an adult Seo-yeon, tied to a chair, screams in fear, once again Young-suk's prisoner. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.